of the evening. This is Bixby High School Jazz 1. For those of you guys who have not met me, I'm Brent Baldwin. I'm the Director of Jazz Studies here at Bixby High School. Before we start, I just want to have one more recognition for both the groups that played before, so Jazz 2 and Jazz 3. I thought that sounded amazing, so I just want to give them one more round of applause before we start. Man, hear Mr. Collins do his thing. Woo. The velvety pipes of Mr. Brandon Collins. Woo, beautiful stuff. All right. So, here's our first tune tonight. Is written by Mark Taylor. It was written for the Stan Kenton Band, one of the later editions of the Stan Kenton Band. This one is going to feature Reese Marcus and John McKinney up here on front. This one's called Granada Smoothie. It's quite the ride. I hope you enjoy. still working on learning how to bow. But anyway, very nice job to John and Reese. Give them one more hand. That's a hard tune. All right. All right. Thank you for. Yeah. Okay. It'd be really nice to. Yeah. Start the next tune. All right. Anyway. All right. So our next tune. So this one's written by a very, very young composer who I actually met while I was doing my master's degree at OSU. It's a young man by the name of Dylan Shadoan. It's kind of a weird thing to say that our next tune was written by a computer programmer, but that's what he does for a living. So he's a computer programmer, but he's also an incredible pianist and an incredible young composer. So this one is called Dubious Dachshund, which I don't really know what that means, but it grooves, and that's all I really care about. I heard it on the OSU 118 album that they released a few years ago, and I really loved this tune, and I really wanted to do it. He was going to give it to me for free. I was like, hey, can I play that tune? And he was like, yeah, here you go. And I was like, no, I'm going to pay you for that. So we paid for it. So, but anyway, this is Dubious Dachshund. Raise your hand if you're playing a solo on this, okay? So let's go through this. First off, we have Colin Roach with the shades right there. There he is. He's going to throw down on Keep those hands up. Good. We're gonna have okay, Colin, you're good. Aiden Brewer on soprano saxophone. Riley Halverson on tenor saxophone, right there. Yeah. We're gonna feature Bella Selman on trumpet, right there. Yeah. And then we're going to throw down with some trombone solos. We got 3 of them. We got Zach Adams, we got Reese Marcus, and we got Joe McKinney. All of them are going to be thrown down on trombone. Anyway, without further ado, this is Dubious Dachshund. One of the big skills we're working on with that one is just longer form solos, that kind of thing. So, like a dachshund, the solo section kind of long, and that's okay. But anyway, I appreciate you indulging them on building those chops up. Our next tune is a beautiful ballad that I'm going to let our student teacher who's conducting it introduce to you. Please welcome to the stage Mr. Hayden Rhodes.
All right, before I start this one, if you're unaware, this Saturday, last Saturday, I graduated from the greatest university in the land, Oklahoma State University. But what that means is that this is my final concert with Bixby. So I wanted to give a great big thank you to Mr. Baldwin back there. He's been the best cooperating teacher in the land, so everybody give him a great big hand. I've learned so much from him, and Mr. Collins I think is gone, but I've learned so much from Mr. Collins. Dude, everybody on staff has been so helpful, so I want to give the band program here a great big thank you before I do my last tune with this program. Hopefully I'll be back at some point, but I also want to give a shout out to these trombones. You don't know what if you don't know what you have one of the best trombone sections in the nation. So. I think they're probably the best trombone section in the country at any high school. Anyways, on to my last tune. This is a ballad version of a theme from a movie from the 50s. It's called When I Fall in Love, and it was originally from a movie. Called, I think, 10 Seconds to Zero or something like that, or 1 Minute to Zero, but it got written with vocals a few years later and got sung and became very, very famous with the famous Nat King Cole. And I'm gonna stop your waiting for a little while. I'm gonna stop talking. I gotta get out. I'm gonna let them play. This is When I Fall in Love. Thank you very much, Bixby Public Schools. Anyways, I'm going to hand it over one last time to Mr. Brent Bulk.
Before we start this last one, I just want to say a couple of things. First off, I would also like to reciprocate that warmth that I received from Mr. Rhodes right there. As a matter of fact, Mr. Rhodes, are your parents here? They come to like everything. I don't know where you guys are, but you guys figured it out. He's awesome, so he's gonna be somebody. He's been an awesome student teacher, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does whenever he has a program of his own here this next school year. He's, again, just been plug and play. It's been like having another director on the staff, no apprehension on his part. So anyway, thank you for being the best student teacher I could have. So thank you, man. Appreciate you. All right, the last couple things I want to talk about. First off, I just want to congratulate this group on some of their most recent accomplishments. I did talk about this at the Fine Arts Fair, but just in case you weren't there, I would like to just reiterate a couple of these things. First off, I want to congratulate these guys. We went to a state contest for the second time ever in Class 6A, and they placed 4th overall, which is the best we've ever done, and I just wanted to congratulate them for that accomplishment, because that 6A is stacked. There are some amazing jazz bands. These guys have worked really, really hard. So I'm just super proud of them for that. I also wanted to recognize a couple of people. So we had multiple members of this ensemble also selected for a group that's going to be meeting this summer. It's an honor band. It's kind of like All-State, but it's the Oklahoma Bandmasters Association and Oklahoma Jazz Educators Association All-Star Jazz Band. So if you were selected for that group, will you please stand up and be recognized for that? So we've got Aiden Brewer right here, Joe McKinney, Bryce Lincoln, Peyton Wilson. They auditioned the same day as our state jazz competition, and so they kind of did double duty that day, and I just wanted to really recognize them because that's hard to make. So our last tune that we're going to play today is a super fun one. It's going to feature Mr. Hayden Melton here on baritone saxophone. It's one of my absolute all-time favorite tunes by Charles Mingus, who is a very colorful individual himself, known for his bass playing, his fiery temper. There's an apocryphal story that he stabbed a guy with the end pin of his bass because he got really upset with him. I don't know if that's true or not, but very fiery individual. He also has maybe the wildest eggnog recipe I've ever seen in my life. But anyway, so fantastic musician here. We also have multiple soloists that are going to be featured on this as well. Raise your hand if you're going to be soloing on the solo section here. Okay, so we got our saxophone section of Colin Roach, Aiden Brewer, and Riley Halverson all soloing on this, and of course, we got to have Hayden Melton solo on this as well. So anyway, I hope you enjoy Charles Mingus' Moanin'. This one's kind of wild. It's insane, and Hayden Melton is gonna throw down on this. More like Hayden Melton everybody's faces. Am I right? Anyway, all right. So there he is. We're gonna feature you. You ready? All right. This is Moanin'. Thank you again for coming out tonight. I hope you enjoyed this concert, and again, thank you for your continued support of this program. Here's Moanin'. Hayden! Yeah. Alright, take it away, buddy. You got it. Let them know. Is that mic too much? Is it on? weather willing, hopefully it happens. You can also catch us at the Bixby Barbecue and Blues Festival this Friday at 5:30. So we'll be playing an extended set of tunes we've played throughout the entire year for that. I'm looking forward to that, assuming we don't, have a torrential downpour that ruins all that. Thank you again for that, and if we have any kids here that can help kind of get stuff moved back, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you again for your support, for being here tonight. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you for sharing it with us.